Continuing to the previous session on communication, understanding the different types of communication, the barriers that are available, and how to control them, we now move on further to understanding the audience in this session. Actually, understanding your audience is very important aspect of any kind of business, effective business communication, emphasizing the importance of tailoring the messages to the recipient's specific needs, preferences, and characteristics. So in business, the audiences, they can vary widely. Obviously, you have a diverse variety depending upon that how they are connected to your business, including maybe for example, employees, the clients, the investors, the suppliers, the other stakeholders. So successful communicators will invest time in audience analysis, understanding their audiences, considering the factors such as the demographics, cultural backgrounds, knowledge levels, and individual motivations. Because by doing so, one can shape their communication style, tone, and the content in order to resonate with the audience. Resonate with the audience, ensuring that the message is relevant and relatable also. This approach enhances the engagement, likelihood of engagement, better comprehension, better understanding, and positive outcomes. So, whether delivering a presentation, writing a report, or engaging a one-to-one conversations, a keen understanding of the audience enables communicator to establish rapport, build trust, and also convey information in a manner that aligns with the audience's expectations and interest also. Because if there is no coordination between the two parties, I think the communication is a failure. It is not effective. So, effective business communication will ultimately hinges on the ability to connect with and adapt to the diverse audience encountered in the dynamic and multifaceted business world. So, this audience analysis and segmentation in business communication involves the understanding and categorizing the intended recipient of the message. So, by tailoring the communication to specific audiences, businesses can enhance the effectiveness of their messages. They may increase the engagement and achieve better outcome. So there, let us just have an overview of audience analysis. How do we go for it, and segmentation in the business uh, communication. So the first is that audience analysis. It will include audience analysis. Will include gathering all the information about the targeted audience's characteristics, their preferences, their tastes, their needs, and their what they expect from us. This comprehensive understanding will allow the communicator to adapt their messages to align with the audience's interest and ensure what relevant thing they expect and what things are relevant for them. So, key aspects of audience analysis will include a demographic factor, for example, age, that is, different age groups may respond differently to communication, obviously. A person who is 70-year-old will receive or will react to a communication in a different way in comparison to the person who is 16 years old. So, we have to understand the age, then gender. Uh, that is maybe a male or female, because gender consideration can influence the messaging and the tone, etc. Then education qualification, that is, we may tailor the content, or maybe design the content based on the educational background of the audience, because it makes a very very big difference, that plays an important role. After demographic factors, we have the psychographic factors. Psychographic factors involve values, that is value system of an audience, what social and cultural background, what ethical values they possess, their attitude must be recognized, and also at the same time their lifestyle must also be, you know, understood before you start communicating with them, because lifestyle will be telling a lot about their choices and preferences in their purchases, in their the manner how why they are or how they are behaving in such a way. And the last thing that one must analyze is behavioral factors. That is, behavioral factor will depend upon individuals' previous experiences, what past life experience they have. That is their past interaction with maybe similar communications, and also their preferences and choices, which will be based on audiences communication channel audiences communications. So this way we can segment them, we can categorize them, and then we try to understand them further. Audience segmentation will involve dividing a larger audience into smaller distinct groups. Smaller groups may be based on based on some shared characteristics. Maybe, for example, we can say geographical segmentation, that is on the basis of the geographical location they are staying or they are existing. Maybe segmentation on the basis of their behavior, that is on the basis of consumer behavior, such as purchasing patterns or product usage. The next segmentation is on behavior, that is behavioral segmentation, which will be based on consumers' behavior, such as maybe their purchasing pattern, their purchasing likes and dislikes, their product usage, how many times, or how the way, all that will decide the behavioral segmentation. Next can be your psychographic segmentation, that is dividing the audience based on their value system, their interest, and their lifestyle. There is a demographic segmentation, and maybe industry or professional segmentation also, that is customizing the communication for a specific industry or some specific professional groups. For example, maybe doctors can be, communicated in a different way in comparison to the lawyers or professors, etc. Coming to the importance and how this segmentation of audiences is beneficial, and also how can this segmentation be used for understanding our audience better. It's important because in the sense that we need to craft messages that must resonate very effectively with the target audience. Therefore, because if we don't do that, I don't think the communication will be very effective, and we will achieve the target results, the targeted objectives. So by thoroughly understanding their our audience's characteristics, preferences, their taste, their needs, their requirements, businesses can always tailor, or maybe I should say specifically design their communication strategies to achieve the maximum impact, to have a maximum influence over your audience. The personalized approach afforded by audience analysis ensures that messages are relevant and they are also engaging, leading to increased receptivity and understanding. So this in turn enhances the likelihood of successful persuasion and the attainment of communication objective. Furthermore, audience segmentation will allow the businesses to divide their larger audience into distinct groups based on shared characteristics, enabling a more targeted and efficient communication strategy. So, this ensures the effective allocation of resources and also enhances the overall efficiency of communication efforts. The benefits will include increased relevance, heightened engagement, improved persuasion power, efficient resource utilization, and the establishment of stronger relationships with the audience. This audience can be your customer too, can be your buyer too, you can be your supplier to anybody, any stakeholders, your employees too. So it is too important to be ignored. So ultimately, audience analysis and segmentation segment serves as a very indispensable tool for businesses seeking to navigate the diverse landscape of their stakeholders and deliver message that should captivate, inform, and resonate with precision with their stakeholders. We can say that we must focus on increasing the relevance, that is tailor-made messages will ensure that they are more relevant to the audience's need and interests. They also enhance engagement, that is, once you understand your audience, you will allow communicators to use the language and content that will resonate, leading to higher engagement of your audiences, that is maybe your customers, your other parties. There will be a stronger persuasion power. Once you understand your audience and your messages are created or developed accordingly, according to their taste and preferences, obviously they will be more appealing, and hence it will be more, they will be specifically motivating them more strongly, and the concerns of the audience increasing the likelihood of persuasion. So effective, so we can say that it is targeted communication is more efficient, as the resource can uh, focus on segments which are more likely to respond more positively. And finally, obviously, we can say it helps us to build the relationship in a more strong and strong network. More loyalty is can be expected. More reliability can be expected, and there will be more trust within the parties, among the parties. So we can say that audience analysis and segmentations are very important in developing successful business communication strategies. For this, we need to specifically understand them and design our communication in such a way so that we are more influential and we can achieve our business objectives. Next is adapting those communication style which are more feasible for different audiences. Uh, how can we do that? It is it's a sort of a skill. I think it's a very important skill which will involve designing the messages, or maybe developing tailor made messages in order to suit the diverse groups characteristics, preferences, and needs. I can say that it's very challenging and it's very difficult, but still one has to create these tailor-made design in order to have a better influence. And for this, as we said, that the things that has to be included, sorry things that need to be included or understood are: first we need to understand our audience, then we have to choose the language and the tool that goes hand in hand with those audiences, their levels of expertise and their familiarity with the domain. So we have to adjust the tone also in order to match the formality that is required, which is most appropriate for those class of audience, there in context to their preferences and taste. There has to be an element of clarity and simplicity too. We have to have a cultural sensitivity. There has to be a visual and multimedia element, that is, you know, we can use visual aids, graphs, and multimedia elements in order to enhance their understanding, especially for those audience that responds well to visual information. We must ensure that the visual content align with the preferences and comprehension levels of the audience. Then another, another step can be an interactive communication, that is gauging the level of interactivity, that is desired by the audience. Some groups may prefer maybe question and answer sessions, some may need a lengthy discussion, or maybe some need some hands on the objectives. So we have to first understand and we have to develop accordingly. So we must adjust the format of presentations or meetings to encourage the active participations of these of our audience and of our stakeholders. We have to keep in mind the timing and the pace, as already been discussed. See, all these points I have been explaining in the previous sessions in a very, very detailed, so you can just go back and check that why timing and pacing the communication, in order to keep our audience more engaged, and maybe more to more influence them in a better way they are. So you can just check back on the previous sessions also. Then we have to choose a communication channel at the same time, which will be more effective. That is, for maybe some people prefer face to face interaction. They are more they understand things in a better way when they meet face to face, whereas some others prefer email. Maybe some prefer meeting on Zoom call. So it will depend upon what is their preferences and what are their likes. So we have to be adaptable to these things, to and we must be knowing how to use these multiple channels in order to reach different segments in the best effective way we can. We also have to go for creating the message in a tailor made, which is required for by the audience. There has to be a and after all, at the end of everything, doing all these activities, um, following all the steps so precisely, after that finally we must have a very good feedback mechanism. That is, we have to establish a mechanism for feedback in order to ensure that the audience, they can submit their thought, they can ask question, they can submit their reactions, and I think that will make us understand them better. And obviously then, when we are responsive to these feedback and make adjustment as needed in order to make the communication more effective, uh, we can attain our objective in a much, much better way. So adapting the communication style to different audience is a very dynamic and nuanced process that will require continuous learning and flexibility. Obviously, you cannot say that yes, now I have understood my audience, all the stakeholders who are attached to my business. Now I don't need to. I have done my homework. Now I don't need to do anything further. No, this is a wrong attitude. You will have to keep yourself, because things are dynamic, and people keep changing their attitude, their preference, their taste, their behavior. So you have to keep yourself at pace with all these changes, and you have to keep building yourself up, and you have to keep yourself very flexible to adapt to the changes. So by taking into account the unique characteristics of each audience, business can they can generate a cleaner understanding and build a stronger relationship and achieve their communication objective in a much, much more effective way. So now we understand, I hope, that why is it is so important to understand the our audience or our stakeholders who are connected to our business. Now next, coming to a very important factor which we have to keep in, that is the cultural considerations in business communication. uh, Business, the consumers or the people around our business who are connected to our business, who are or related to our business, maybe in the form of employees, maybe in the form of customers, maybe in the form of suppliers, maybe in the form of funders or investors. um, they all are human beings and they belong to some cultures. And that, in order to develop or build a good, uh, strong and good relationship with these people, or with these parties who will be associated with us, it is very important that we go for cultural consideration in our business communication. That is, we have to recognize, we have to understand, and we have to respect the cultural differences, because this will no doubt enhance the communication effectivity and communication influence for the business. So there are some important cultural consideration which I mentioned here are, that is, first you must generate a cultural awareness, uh, not among yourself but among the complete team, that all the people who are there, all the partners or all the people who are working, who are the part of the management or who are the part of the administration, they all must be aware, they must be, they must be able to develop an understanding, and they must appreciate the diversity of the backgrounds and the perspectives also. So you have to provide a cultural sensitivity training to in order to promote the understanding of different customs, traditions, and communication styles. We have to be very mindful of language uses also. That is what language, that is language proficiency, what language is known to all the audiences, how to develop that and adjust to the complexity of the language accordingly. There has to be, we have to understand the language variation and the communication styles, maybe such as we can go for having a low context or high context communication, etc. That has to be understood. Then another important factor that must be taken very seriously, it is the hierarchy and authority. That is, acknowledge the variation in hierarchical structures and the importance of authorities in different cultures. Mm, uh, Due respect has to be given to the titles and the formalities, addressing the individuals with the appropriate level of formalities based on the cultural norms. So this is one of the important part which one has to learn, which one must understand. And then obviously time recognition, that is, we have to recognize diverse attitude towards time, maybe because it may be an event time, it may be a clock time, etc. anything. Then cultural we have to understand the cultural approaches in order to go for conflict resolutions, because maybe some cultures, maybe they prefer direct confrontation with others, whereas some may value indirect or diplomatic approaches. So these things have to be understood. We have to provide a framework for addressing the conflict, which that respect the cultural differences, that takes into consideration all the diversity that has to be taken up. There has to be a relationship building also, that is, we have to acknowledge the importance of relationship building, which is very important between cultures. We must, for this I think we must invest time in building trust and rapport among different cultures. Maybe we can encourage after understanding the cultures, obviously we may encourage gifts and hospitality, because but for this we have to first understand the symbolic meaning of gifts and the etiquettes associated with the receiving and giving the presents. And we have to be also we have to be aware of the hospitality aspects also. At the same time, we have to be religious sensitive also. That is, there should be respect. We have to respect the religious practices and holidays, avoid scheduling important events on these dates, maybe, or maybe some important meetings on these dates when there is a religious holiday or some celebration. Mm. One must be also, you should be mindful of dietary restrictions. It's very sensitive and it's very important, and other cultural considerations which are related to the religious beliefs. We have to be careful about the global virtual communication also. That is, we must adapt virtual communication practices in order to accommodate different time zones, different cultures throughout the globe, especially we are in international business. We are into exports or import, or we are just, having the audience at a global platform. We have to be empathetic of that. We have to have a knowledge about that. um, we should be good at using the technology, but at the same time, using the technology at the wrong time may create other problems. So these things have to be well learned. So we can see that the organizations, they can create a more inclusive and very respectful environment by incorporating these cultural consideration into business communication practices. So cultural competence in communication, it fosters collaboration, it reduces the risk of miscommunication, and it enhances the overall success of cross cultural business interaction. So we must take care of these things before we move into communicating with our different business parties on the um, entrepreneurial domain. We do this much in this session. Thank you.